could not do it. Do what? We could not keep the law. We couldn't do it. Didn't want to do it. Couldn't do it. But the perfect Holy One, come from God, the Son of God, he did it for us. He did it for us. Verse 6, John chapter 5, verse 6. Jesus says, he saw this man lying there, and he knew that he had already been in that condition a long time. And Jesus said to him, do you want to be made well? Now notice this. There's so much in John chapter 5, verse 6. There's so much here. Look what happens. It says Jesus saw him lying there. And now in the last verse, it says it was a certain man. Jesus sees him lying there. And Jesus already knew this man's condition. Why? Because he's the Son of God. So many Christians, so many of you don't think that he sees. You don't think he knows what you're going through. You don't think he knows the persecutions that you're going through. You don't think he knows the weight of burden that you're going through. So many of you don't think he sees your ailments, your lameness, your haltness, your paralysis, whether they be physical in nature or whether they be spiritual in nature or whether they be both. You think that he doesn't see. You think that he doesn't know you by name. This man had this infirmity for 38 years. This certain man. The word of God is making this clear that he knows who this man is. It says clearly, Jesus saw him lying there and he knew already what his condition was and how long he had been in it. But Jesus came to this man specifically. Think about this. If you go to verse 3, it says that there was a great multitude of sick people who were lame, halted, and blind, paralyzed. There were many people there. Jesus came to this one man. He went to this one man. Jesus did not go in here to this pool and come to all these people and make an Oprah Winfrey move. You be healed, you be healed, you be healed, you be healed, you be healed. No, that's not what he did. He went to one man, one certain man, whom he knew. Whom he knew. He knew that he had already been in this condition and that he had been in that condition for a long time. Whatever troubles you, Christians, the Lord knows. He knows. The Lord knows what you're going through, and he knows you. Even if you have been going through your struggles for 38 years, like this man, do not lose heart, because the Lord knows you and what you are going through. He knows. Then Jesus says to this man who had been in this condition of paralysis and infirmity and lameness, Jesus says to this man, do you want to be made well? Do you want to be made well? Now, from a human perspective, from a natural man's perspective, we got to think this is probably a silly question. You got a man who is paralyzed, can't move, can do nothing for himself. Jesus comes to him And he says, do you want to be made well? What kind of a question is that? Think about it. Jesus knew this man. He knew his infirmity. Christ knows what's in all men. He knows all men. He's the creator of all men. And yet he comes to this one man and he says, do you want to be made well? Who would not want to be made well? It seems like a silly question to ask. But Christ is trying to elicit from this man the recognition of himself, meaning recognition of Christ. But he's also trying to get this man to reconcile who he is, standing before Christ, or I should say, laying before Christ. Christ will come ask us a question, as he has asked every one of us believers. He asks everyone who's a sinner, do you want to be made well? Do you want to be cured? Do you want to be changed? Do you want to be made whole? Not whole again. Do you want to be made whole for the first time? You have to answer this question. If you are a believer, no doubt you've answered this question. The Lord speaks to your soul and says, will you be made whole? If you're a believer, you've answered that question and you answered it correctly. So the sick man answered Christ and says, sir, I have no man to put me into this pool. And when the water is stirred, somebody else steps in before me. Just like humanity, even when Christ is presented to them, they expect Christ to provide healing for them or to them or upon them under the conditions that they were already seeking, which was the conditions that should not have been sought. They expect Christ to accommodate their superstitions. If you come to Christ, you must come to Christ on his terms. Salvation comes on his terms. You don't go to Christ and say, save me this way. You don't get to call the shots on how Christ is to save you. And so you have so many people that are always moaning and crying and whining. Why me, Lord? Why do I have this disease? Why do I have this sickness? Why did my wife leave me? Why did my husband leave me? Why did I lose my job? Why did I do this? Why did this happen? Why? Why did I lose my